Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap Fight to 146. We're going to recap Polaris 13, the GP. We're going to recap Third Coast Grappling's Kumite 4. We're going to recap Submission Underground 16, Mason Fowler versus Craig Jones. We're going to preview Spider Korea BJJ. We're going to preview Fight to Win 147. We're going to preview the Sapaterre Invitational, the 155-pound qualifier, and talk a little about the Jiu-Jitsu overtime. As always in the show, I'm your host, Mangel, my co-host.
Emil.
It's a big old show this week, Emil.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, man. Shit, between all of these jiu-jitsu events and a crazy stacked UFC event.
Dude, that was fun as shit.
That was,
If it could not go to 2 a.m.
Yeah, that was...
150
that was
is when the final decision between Masvidal and Usman got read, and I went, this is too late for me. I'm done. Like, I'm not 20 anymore. I can't be up till 3 a.m. watching fights.
Yeah, I know, man.
So, talk about that in a little bit here. There's not a whole lot of jiu-jitsu news. Honestly, Spider got moved. Spider's now next week, and I'm happy about that. So they kind of rescheduled. Let's see. PGF in Alabama is happening next week with the guys from 10th Planet Alabama. They're running like a week-to-week grappling event. Week 1 just happened. It's on YouTube. You can find it. Find it there. Let's see what other news I got. Stuff's starting to shut back down.
Yep.
Events are starting to cancel. A lot of stuff from Grappling Industries has canceled. Some of the stuff they had going on in Texas, and I think a couple other states have been pushed again, I think back until October now. So, yep, there's that. I don't want to kind of belabor that because everyone knows what's going on. We're doing the best we can. Venom has been announced as the new UFC apparel provider.
Yeah.
I love Venom gear. I think it looks dope.
Yep.
So I'm happy that we're going to get hopefully
hope that the fighters get fucking paid.
Yeah.
You know?
I also hope it looks better. I hope it doesn't look like chalk got rubbed on their shorts, which has always bothered me. I literally thought when they first, because they've gone through like 3 or 4 different gear stuff since the Reebok deal. And when the chalk one got announced, or got like put out, I thought one of the fighters just had dirty shorts when they walked out. And I realized, they all have it, this card.
Yep.
Oh, snap. That's like the look is like chalk. Like it looks like a climbing gym.
I've never gotten any impression other than Reebok utterly half-assed that partnership.
It had, dude. It was 7 years.
Remember Giblert?
Giblert Melendez?
Yeah.
Giblert and Anderson Aldo or something like that?
Something like that.
There was a bunch of like just missteps for like giant fighters. You're like, oh, Jesus. No one like spell check, bro.
Yep.
So Venom's happening. I'm happy that Venom's going to hopefully make stuff that looks dope. They make good gloves. And so like I've honestly been happy with the stuff they have. I think their gis are good, so that'll be good. What else do I have? So UFC. We're going to kind of stop off on MMA news for a quick second. This card was dope.
Yo.
It was a lot of fun. They were moving to grappling, but I would want to talk about it for a second because there's not really a better place to talk about it in the show than like right now. And it was a lot of fun. Masvidal stepped up on 6 days' notice and put together a really fun fight.
Yeah, I don't know about fun, but there were moments when he was definitely piecing up Usman. He just didn't have enough. And with a full fight camp, I was like, I wonder
how different that fight looks.
Yeah, because definitely his tank played into it.
I was actually surprised. This fight was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, given the preparation that Masvidal had.
Right.
Because Masvidal's a guy, and he doesn't get super out of shape, but he's a guy that always kind of strikes me as like...
Dude, he was stopping those takedown attempts up until he started getting tired.
Masvidal is a really, really good counter wrestler. Like Damian Maia was like, he's like the best guy I've ever grappled in the UFC.
Right.
He's everyone kind of forgets underratedly an outstanding counter wrestler.
Yeah, dude, his switches, I think I talked about it last week, but Jack Slack had a Filthy Casuals guide to Georgie Masvidal, and he shows actually his switches are amazing, and he's really good at chaining them with guillotines and stuff. His grappling is impressive.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
So I was impressed. I was super happy. I love watching George's boxing.
Yeah.
Because you see him just
incredible.
out of the way, and he's such a fun. He's just fun. He's just like an action fighter.
Yep.
And it's awesome. So it was a lot of fun. I wish that it didn't go to 1:50 in the morning.
Yep.
I'm still honestly tired from that because I couldn't catch up on sleep Sunday.
Yep.
But it is what it is. So I think I don't have any additional news. A couple other events are getting announced.
Khabib's dad.
In next month, man, I want a week of news where it's just awesome news.
Yeah, it's not going to be happening for a while, man.
Oh, man.
Because
So Khabib's father has passed away due to complications with coronavirus and some other things. That region got hit really hard, and kind of is still getting hit pretty hard.
I mean, like, there's no good way of saying this, but like, in many ways, this is just the beginning right now, and like, it's something that, I mean, you talked about events shutting down, and like, with all of these events going on now, like, it is a serious risk to the athletes, and not just from like succumbing, but even like if you recover, there's a significant portion of people that get like permanent organ damage, including like lung damage, and
scarring.
like you're not coming back
At the same capacity that you were.
Yeah.
Maybe ever.
Yeah.
Is the data that we have. Stay safe. Do the best you can. Follow your local guidance and regulations. Florida hit the all-time record every single day this week.
Well, I mean, that's
cases.
like why I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes it's not enough to go by the base level locally.
Yeah.
So,
I have a feeling we're going to move back to remote here for the show.
yeah.
In the future, depending on, sooner rather than later, probably. So on that super downer note, we want to move into news? I mean, events?
Let's do it.
All right, where do you want to start?
Third Coast Kumite, man.
So
It's got all the fucking stars in it. Jesus.
kicked it off.
Yeah.
Want to start with the kickoff match? Roberto Jimenez taking on Nick Rodriguez.
Jesus H. Christ. This was dope. Like, both of these guys are lightning fast, and so it was amazing to see them pitted against each other. And I thought Jimenez was going to have a speed advantage, and at best, he was matching Nicky. Nicky might have been faster.
That's kind of that was my take. We haven't talked about this. That was kind of my takeaway. I was like, how fucking fast is Nick? Like, we've always known he's really fast for heavyweight. Like, we've known that he's super athletic for heavyweight. Like, but to see him against a guy who is not a natural heavyweight, Jimenez is 180, 190, 95. Like, he's not 200. To see him match speed with a guy that historically is fast at the division that he fights in, and then keep pace and potentially outpace him was super impressive.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Like, my takeaway here is, like, Nick Rodriguez is still a freak athlete, and I still don't think we realize how much of a freak athlete he is.
Yeah, he's still surprising me.
Yeah.
Yep. This is a great match. Nicky scores a takedown early on. Also chaining some really nice like picks and stuff off of there and sweeps. And then during regulation, Nicky gets 2 calling penalties, so 2 points go to Roberto. They get tied up in regulation. And just broadly speaking, how regulation went was Roberto trying to get to the close guard.
Once the takedown happened, like, Roberto kind of realized, like, I'm probably not taking this monster down. I probably am not going to be able to get the back effectively. Like we said on our preview for this. This honestly went really kind of similar to how our preview we said it was going to go, where it's like Nick Rodriguez, if he stands, is going to get taken down. There's not a person in jiu-jitsu that can take Rodriguez down.
Right.
And Jimenez was able to take the back off of it, and Jimenez realized after he gave up the first 2 on Rodriguez that, man, that is an uphill battle. Rodriguez historically has, his passing is not underdeveloped is the right word to use, but it's not as good as his takedowns and his like open space passing. So if Roberto, who has a really good close guard, can get to the close guard, he can slow Rodriguez down. That's exactly what he did.
He did, and like what we saw him Rodriguez going for was again the double unders. He clearly favors that.
Yeah.
That's
I was kind of concerned
back take.
If Jimenez was going to be able to set up a triangle off that. And he kind of started a couple times, but I think Rodriguez has gotten so much better at like
not just that, but like just someone that big, like, and quick. That's throwing up a triangle against someone who's like significantly bigger than you is always a liability. And so we saw Jimenez like going for patiently, like just swimming under. At one point, he gets a really good body lock on the double unders.
And then Rodriguez just puts his hand in the face and the neck and
off.
Just push him away. I was like, well, I mean, if you can fight it that way as well. That made me laugh because I just looked like, oh, there's no way he is out bench pressing from the upward position Nick Rodriguez. Yeah, no. And Nick Rodriguez just like flexed and pushed him off. And I went, geez, you got to fight this monster.
Yep. So it goes to overtime. And, there's an amazing... dude, there was a tornado sweep attempt that Jimenez almost hit. That was awesome.
I don't think we've seen that from Jimenez before. And it was a classic like Cyborg, which is funny because Cyborg was in the same side of the bracket.
Well, it's funny because Jimenez actually, I saw him starting to set it up against Cyborg too, which is just like funny because it's never going to work against Cyborg. But
The dude that invented the tornado sweep, like, you're probably not going to hit on that guy.
So there's one moment where Roberto has Nikki in close guard, and Nikki just does like a popping. He just pops to his feet, and then for the guard break. Did you see that? He just jumped straight up.
It's like, nope, man, you're just out.
Yep. Yeah. So
The stuff you can't do, stuff you know you can't do. It's like, how do you plan for that? It's like Nick Rodriguez is just gonna stand up here. You're like, wait, what? I have the grips and I have the control.
No.
He's just gonna stand up.
No, fuck your grips. Yeah, so by the time overtime ends, neither of them have scored points in overtime, so it goes to decision. But Roberto was way more active, going for subs. At one point, he did try to like shoot up a triangle.
Yeah, he was going for stuff. Rodriguez was, looked good in his passing, but he wasn't really ever able to crush the hips down all the way and get around fully.
Right.
And it just, Roberto takes, I think, a pretty close decision here.
Yep. Very close, yeah.
And I was impressed. I was impressed with both these guys with what they showed.
Yep. Next up, we have Cyborg defeating Arnaldo Maidana 2-0 in overtime.
Dude, Cyborg is quick.
He's fast, and as I mentioned before, like, he's one of those guys that knows exactly what he needs to do to win. Mm-hmm. Like, his awareness is amazing.
So this match goes to overtime. Anything you want to talk about in regulation, or just talk about the overtime? So this match goes to overtime, and Cyborg wins it with a shot.
Yeah.
Basically. And he reverses a shot that Maidana takes.
Yep.
And basically gets it done. But he does exactly what he needs to do. They start, and then he just flips it over.
Yep.
And finishes it. So
next match is fucking buck wild. Felipe Andrew submitting Lucas the Hulk Barbosa via triangle armbar. Holy shit.
You ever have your entire other side of the bracket messed up
fucked
by making a really bad pick and not respecting the ability of a really, really good finisher?
Yep.
That's where you ever eat your words super hard. Like, that's what I'm going to do here.
That's what happened to both of us.
I slept on Felipe Andrew. Like, we always do this.
We did say that.
We left it out as a possibility because we covered our bases. Like, he can flow up the flash sub. And I think you and I both watched this triangle. So he triangles Hulk. Right. And I think you and I both watched this triangle transition like over and over and over just to see how he was able to set it up on Hulk.
It's absolutely nuts. Felipe Andrews in open guard with Hulk passing. And Hulk kind of has like, he's under hooking one of the legs, looks like he's kind of getting ready to do maybe an over under, or something to that, or maybe even double unders, and it happens so quickly. This triangle that Felipe throws up.
Well, what threw me off was Felipe throws it up on the other side.
Yeah.
He throws it up on the reverse side of the side that you think he's going to set it up on, because he has his foot on top of Hulk's shoulder.
Right.
And he throws, instead of throwing that leg over top, he throws the opposite side leg over top to that position.
Yep. And the way that this is worth revisiting like over and over again because it's beautiful. As Maine said, the Felipe Andrews' foot was on Hulk's shoulder on the side where your leg kind of crosses to make the triangle. And so Hulk, everybody, myself, thought that it was a position where Hulk was safe.
Well, it's because you are safe there.
Yeah.
Like, you're like for almost everyone else. But Andrew has a really interesting setup here. And one thing I watched, so if you go back like 10 seconds, you can see the setup. But if you go back a little farther than that, you can see Felipe Andrew, he's touching Hulk's hand. And so if you're looking at the camera, the way that they were set up, Felipe Andrew's using his right hand to touch Hulk's left hand there. And he's like, keeps kind of touching it to see what sort of reaction he's going to get. And once he gets Hulk used to what he's going to do with that hand, then he goes 2-on-1.
He goes to 2-on-1, but he doesn't do it jerkily. He does it very gently and even like pauses there for like maybe a second or two and then just yanks that arm. And that's what...
And he cuts the angle so hard on that basically wrong side leg over top to get it over the arm, of the other arm for the triangle. Like, that was the interesting thing to me, was just the speed at which he's able to switch and basically knock Hulk over into the triangle with the opposite leg.
Right.
It was like, it's something we don't see a whole lot from that position. He was able to cover that speed so quickly.
Yep.
And it's a special kind of speed, which is, again, really similar to what we saw when he got Keenan at the Europeans, was he just is there all of a sudden. He just throws it up and he is in position. He locks it up. The thing I thought was really interesting for the finish was he doesn't actually finish the triangle. He finishes the armbar.
Yep.
And you see he anticipates you're going to try to stack and pull out, and he immediately gets super long and just starts rotating on the arm. So it's like, in theory, the triangle's still going to be there, but because he's so far away and going so hard on the arm, he's committing to the arm, and then you have to defend them both, but you've already started to pull out, so you make the angle that he needs for the arm at the escape. It's a really just beautifully drilled sequence, and the camera angle is just perfect to catch all of the little pieces and motions there.
Yeah, definitely watch it. The finish is on Instagram, I think, for Flow.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
I was just on Flow and just like tabbing back and tabbing back to watch it, just because it's such a cool sequence. And again, it messes up my entire right side of the bracket because I picked Hulk.
So next up we have Gabriel Almeida defeating Guillermo Ostagosaurus via decision.
Not a whole lot. Semifinals?
Cyborg defeats Roberto Jimenez via decision. This was a fucking great match.
Sorry, my notes made me laugh because my notes just made me laugh. If you don't know me, I tend to write things in my notes as I'm watching these, and so they get a little colorful as I'm writing them.
Just really great stuff. We saw, as Bane's notes colorfully put, many blast doubles from Cyborg this match.
But just that head, like not the low blast double, but like the head in the chest blast double. That's just, he drops enough level, he foreheads you in the chest and just bowls you over.
Yeah.
Which is something you cannot hit unless you're quick.
Yeah.
And again, he's hitting on Roberto, which I thought was really interesting. He's like, he knows that he's using all the wrestling experience he has, and he's banking on that, like, he can not out scramble Jimenez, but have the initiative and put Jimenez in a spot where he's going to have to defend. And he figures that out very quickly in the match. And I'm always super surprised with Cyborg's ability to, like, figure out a situation and then figure out exactly what he has to do to put the match where he needs to put it to win.
One really interesting thing here that Cyborg kept doing to Jimenez and throughout the match was, from passing position, Cyborg would base out on Roberto's neck. He would extend his arm way out on Roberto's neck and use it as a
post, basically.
As a post, and to keep Roberto from sitting up and changing his posture.
Because that's something that Roberto does a ton. We see him do that, like, almost like worm position from guard, where he goes almost on the back of the crown of his skull and lifts his hips up super high to knock you forward. Because as you go and kind of lift against that position and throw your own hips and shoulders back to stabilize, he will then come back in and body lock you.
Right.
And so Cyborg realizes, like, okay, I don't want to let the guy do that. And Jimenez is relatively long, so Cyborg posts on his neck and basically, in effect, sort of stops that position, because now he has that out in the middle. He has the center post, and it's not going to let Jimenez get to that body lock as easily.
Yeah, well, not even that easily. Like, Jimenez straight up could not.
Right.
And it looked like Jimenez was struggling with it.
Well,
like,
Cyborg was putting some pressure.
Yeah, I don't think it was like, you know, I don't think he was choking him. I think it was just like,
well, there was one of them where you saw Cyborg, like, put some beans into it and like kind of like start to almost look like he was choking. You're not gonna get it, but there was a couple of them that looked super, super aggressive.
Right.
And like, I want this position. You have to respect, like, my hand's on your neck, and I'm gonna, like, hold you down here.
Yep.
And you got to address it.
Right. Really great. So yeah, Cyborg hits a couple of blast doubles in regulation. In overtime,
he has 2 blast doubles in regulation, so it's 4-0 going into overtime. Again, if you don't score 11 points in third coast, we talked about that. Third coast is 11-point tech fall. It didn't come into play during this event, but if you don't score fully the 11 points or submit your opponent in regulation, you go to the overtime. Overtime is golden score, first to score.
Right, and if you have points over the person in regulation, then you get to pick. Cyborg elects to be standing, of course.
Because I've already gotten 4 points from standing, so why wouldn't I elect to do the same thing?
And off the bat, Cyborg double legs. And what's interesting is that this is the first time that Jimenez was able to sprawl, but Cyborg was forward enough that Jimenez didn't have any place to post off and separate his hips. And so Cyborg hangs on, gets kind of a body lock, ducks his head underneath, and they both stand with Cyborg on the back, and then Cyborg
in that seatbelt, in the I'm gonna suplex you position,
and then Cyborg suplexes him.
Cyborg
Like, what are you
is-
gonna do? Suplex me? Yeah, fuck yeah.
Cyborg, like a couple guys in jiu-jitsu are always gonna suplex you. Cyborg is one of those guys. If he gets that body lock, you're going directly over, and then he's gonna land. But dude, props to Jimenez. Like, I was actually super surprised that Cyborg was not able to settle Jimenez here off the suplex.
I agree.
Like, this Jimenez did a super good
It
job.
was a hard landing.
Oh, yeah. And then to have the wherewithal to know, okay, he's going to suplex me, he takes me over, and then to have the wherewithal to actually spin out and turn and get back to a position where Cyborg can't control your hips off a move like that, because it's a super disorienting move. And it's also, the thing about suplexes is, because most guys don't train them a ton, especially if you don't come from a wrestling background, you can throw a lot of guys off where they land and you get this lull in, like, I just don't know where I need to move immediately. Jimenez didn't have that. And I was really impressed with Jimenez's wherewithal to, like, probably not be put in that position a ton, but to
Jimenez
to work off
pops
of it.
back up and then does kind of basically like a funk roll out, and survives the rest of the match with Cyborg attempting to pass. Goes to decision. Cyborg obviously.
You suplex a dude, you're going to get a decision.
Yeah.
So Cyborg takes, I think, a pretty clean decision here over Jimenez.
Yeah.
Looked good.
Next up. Oh, and by the way, like, the rest of overtime was phenomenal. Like, they were trading single leg attempts, double leg attempts. Like,
this
back
is
and forth.
this is honestly a match. This is probably one of my most fun, like, matches to watch.
Yeah.
Just because of you saw the wrestling of Cyborg, and you saw, like, how Jimenez dealt with who Jimenez is. He's good. Actually, Jimenez is good everywhere. But you saw him deal with, like, a real veteran player that was going to capitalize on the areas that maybe weren't as strong. And it was just a really, really cool matchup. I'm curious to see. It wouldn't surprise me to have both these guys match up again in the future.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious to see what changes Jimenez will make to kind of deal with what Cyborg was throwing at him.
Yeah. Next up, we have Felipe Andrew submitting Gabriel Almeida via heel hook. This was
Dude,
dumb
Andrew
fast.
starts it off with a jumping guillotine to start the match off immediately, like Marcelo style, just over top, jumps it down, and then Gabriel counters.
Yeah. This was a brutal heel hook. I mean,
I couldn't really see because of the camera angle.
yeah,
It was a sideways camera. I mean,
it could have been a straight
Gabriel
ankle.
was limping hard after.
was
it.
limping
And they
super hard.
they listed in the results as a straight ankle, but the way that Felipe goes back for it and the speed, maybe
I thought it was a straight ankle. In the results, they list a heel hook.
they list ankle lock.
Mine says a heel hook.
Oh, really? Okay, I have different results then.
I thought it was a straight ankle lock. I think that's a more, just looking at how he sat back, I didn't see a lot of twisting motion and rotation. I saw more of a...
Felipe is also one of those guys that finishes so quick. Like
It was super fast.
Yeah. So basically, Gabriel goes for a heel hook on Felipe, and Felipe goes, nope, drops back for his own leg lock. I think I probably, let's go call it an ankle lock.
Yeah.
Drops for his own leg lock and just immediately, like, really quickly boots it out and gets it done.
Yeah.
I think this match is under a minute.
Yeah. It's very, very
It's just
fast.
like, oh, Felipe Andrew can sub dudes really, really quick.
Yep.
Like, I think
Super
he's
dangerous.
probably one of the quickest finishers around right now.
Yeah.
I don't think of any other guy at that high level that will, like, just submits so quick against high level opposition.
Yeah.
Like, Jimenez is another guy that submits really, really quickly, but usually against guys that aren't, like, at the elite level. So.
Finals. Cyborg defeats Felipe Andrew via guillotine.
So excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, this was... First off, Cyborg fucking carved through Felipe Andrew's guard. It was like... I'm a little, like... I'm salty that the camera angle wasn't right to see how he did it, because it was real fast. And Felipe is able to recover. They stand up, and Felipe shoots a bad double, and Roberto snaps the guillotine.
Cyborg. Oh, yeah, jeez, Roberto. Yeah, it's Roberto Cyborg.
Yeah.
Jesus. Unless you're saying, man, I was like, that's the wrong guy.
Cyborg.
Cyborg.
Cyborg snaps the guillotine and does a great job at following it. Like, it's so amazing because, you know, Maine and I were talking about it.
I'm a guillotine connoisseur.
Yes.
Like, it is my favorite technique in jiu-jitsu.
And when you see someone as strong as Cyborg
But
like
it wasn't just strength.
yanking
Like,
it. Well, that's the thing. When you look at it, you're like, he's gooning
it
it.
looks like a goon choke. The way Cyborg finishes it, it is a characteristic, like a classic goon choke, because it's a standing guillotine finish. He's walking the guy forward. But as a guillotine connoisseur, if you look at how he sets it up off the shot, he gets his hands. He almost gets like doesn't have a 10-finger grip. He has a hand over hand, like a saucer grip on the hand. He's then adjusting it. He's keeping his shoulders over the chest. But what he's doing is, in that position, Felipe can either come back in or pull out. What Cyborg is doing is he's loading Felipe's legs on the sprawl so that Felipe can't basically move in or out. He still has to deal with the up and down motion. But
Cyborg follows it perfectly.
Yes.
Like
So
you can see him tracking.
Which is really hard to do. But the cool thing about this guillotine is, again, like Emil said, the tracking up and down as well. But when Cyborg actually goes to stand on it, he's super measured when he stands. Most times when guys get this position, they get a nice tight grip. They feel really good. It's nice. The head is in the chest. It's bent over on the neck. They pull up and they try to just lift and goon the guy over. Well, if you have a super high-level guy like Felipe Andrew, he's going to anticipate you yanking up, and he's going to yank at the same time, and your hands and chest, everything aren't able to hold the head in a position, and he's going to rip the ears and rip the head out. What Cyborg does is he lifts, and he just expresses, and he keeps lifting up, and he makes little adjustments up on the tracking so that when his chest is not over top of the shoulders of Felipe Andrew anymore, Felipe Andrew can't escape. It's such a veteran move to have a guy that's not just going to goon you up, but going to like actually take their time and make the right adjustments in order to squeeze for the finish like this, as opposed to just yanking and trying to finish. Because Cyborg has the ability to do that, but he doesn't, and he gets the tap as a result. And it just was such a cool sequence. I love this guillotine. It's an uncommon guillotine to see hit in this way, and to see like the measuredness that Cyborg and the little adjustments that Cyborg makes throughout the entire thing is just, it was a real treat for me as a guy that like, that is my favorite technique to watch.
Yeah.
It's a real treat.
Definitely go back and watch the end sequence because it is tremendous.
Yeah, but you catching on the pulling up, you kind of keying into like the following up.
Well,
and
you can see him because he kind of like goes up and down a little bit. And at first I thought it was him kind of losing footing, but then I was like, no, that's him just keeping the pressure on.
Because if you can move up and down a little bit, you can actually adjust where the head and the hands are on the chest, and you can keep adjusting where your shoulders are on the top of their shoulders to keep like replacing your hand position to keep them centered in the chest, or to actually decide to go off to the side and finish too. So it's like little teeny adjustments that are just really cool to see. And the camera angle was perfect for it. So it was a super cool finish. I was happy to see Cyborg again win another tournament at 40 years old or 39 or however old he is, and just
with like monster competition too. You know?
And looked good. Like there wasn't a match that he didn't look good. He's like, God damn, he looked good finishing dudes.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Some other matches on the card as well. There was a big brawl on the card. Both guys got suspended for some time. You can read up on it in Third Coast. I don't really want to talk about it too much because I don't really want to, encourage that kind of thing. Mona Bailey was on the card, looked really good against Natalie I always mess up Gordon Ryan's last name. Against Hey Sunny. Outpointed her in like just really good passing, really good positional work. Was really impressed with Mona as per usual. We're going to move on to next. We got
Fight to Win.
You want to fight to win 146?
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to... Gordon Ryan had a match as well. Gordon Ryan had an exhibition match where he tapped Brian in the last, I think, 2 seconds of the match. It was a fun exhibition match. It was Gordon Ryan sort of showcasing back control, his passing, just, it was a showcase match, and they raised a lot of money for We Defy. Great organization. Highly recommend you guys support them. They're doing great things for veterans in the United States. And it's generally just a really great organization. I'm not sure exactly how much they raised publicly, but I think they raised a good chunk of money. I'm not sure if the donation link for that is still up, but it's a really good cause, and I'm happy to see that, they're able to get Gordon Ryan to, help that cause out. Moving on to Fight to Win 146 that took place in Austin, Texas, headlined by black belt Edwin Najmi defeating Oswaldo Cassio via rear naked choke, and that was submission of the night for the black belts. A little bit of controversy in this one.
Yeah, a little bit. Najmi like starts off just like he is so keyed in on the Fight to Win rule set. Like he just starts off throwing in a steam lock on Cassio, and Najmi hits a dope Toriando pass like instantly getting past Cassino's legs, and Cassino has to begin turtling. And Najmi is just relentless and follows through, takes the back.
The follow is good because Cassino's rolling, and Najmi does a really good job there of like keeping the hooks in, keeping the one hook to just continue on the follow and not get scraped off by the mat.
Yep. And, he's also, Najmi's attacking different things. Like he's front headlock with maybe a little bit of a choke, goes to crucifix, then steps over for the back take. And while they're rolling on the back take, Najmi is starting to get his hands in position for a rear naked choke.
He doesn't have the full hooks in yet. They're still kind of like fighting the hooks, but you can see Najmi like working more so on the choke, kind of than like really prioritizing the hook. He's sort of not at a side choke, but he's starting to set up there, and then they kind of roll off the mat.
They roll off the mat.
Reset.
They reset, and then even the commentators are like, "Oh, it's going to be a neck crank," and you can see exactly that. Najmi gets the finish there, and Cassino is not happy about the reset.
It's one of those restarting in a sub things where it's like, I don't know. I wish it could be more definitive here because I definitely am not certain if that's where it was going to finish because they were both moving. Right. And it was getting set up. And again, it could have finished there, but it's so hard to start a guy with a position like that in static space and then have him be able to make the adjustment because it's way easier to restart from static as the choker than it is to get your motion going again as the guy trying to escape the hooks and trying to escape the choke. So it's one of those like, it's really hard to make the reset. It wasn't a terrible restart, but it was definitely one of those where the restart
maybe restart the position but not the submission.
It's really hard. Like it's a funny restart, and but Najmi gets it done. Looked really good. They had a nice dueling toe hold back and forth. It was cool. I honestly feel like we're gonna see more leg stuff from Najmi. He has really been hunting recently. Like the toe holds really, really hard. And I have a feeling that we're going to see more of that from him just in this match. He looked way more calm. He looked way more controlled. He put up a legit, like, super heavy Estima lock on Cassino and a really good toe hold in a dueling toe hold battle that Cassino initiated that then Cassino had to let go of his toe hold and defend Najmi's toe hold and roll out. So, really happy with it. Glad to see Najmi. I think Najmi is probably going to go for the belt soon.
Yeah.
I know he previously had the belt at Fight to Win. I don't know if he lost that or exactly who took that off of him, but I would assume, honestly, with his activity at Fight to Win, the amount of points that he's gotten, that he's probably on the short list for a belt, especially if he's main eventing now, especially on a big card like this one.
Yep.
So, next match, we got Cyborg defeating Gabe Tuttle via decision.
This was fucking unreal.
Fucking Caio can pass is the first line of my notes.
My God. Caio posts up on his hands and just starts floating passing like this was like
over the guard.
This was like watching one of the Mendez brothers abuse a purple belt. It was savage.
Passing is so good. It's so good.
He's basically surfing on the legs.
He's surfing.
He gets to like a leg weave type position, and then steps the other leg up and over into mount.
Is this the first sequence?
This is the first sequence. It was a 2-move sequence. Sequence. Like, just so slick.
He just there was one of them where he just goes over the legs. Like, he's surfing on Gabe's shins, and he just kind of presses down and, like, folds over and just is in mount.
Yep.
I mean, the funny thing is, when most guys, not funny, the interesting thing about this particular pass is that when most guys do that move, there is like a drop down and there's like a settling thing. Caio doesn't have that. He just slides the tops of his shins down the thighs of Gabe here and just is in mount.
Yep.
And I can't really describe it because it just looks different than how it's usually done.
Yep.
And that's the best way to put it. It's just, there's no space. There's everything that could have been taken out of it is taken out. And it's just so smooth. There's a couple passes here where I was trying to get screenshots for my notes so we can like have talking points, and I just can't because it's like 2 frames.
It's super smooth.
Of just like he goes in the knee cut or goes in the leg weave, and then he immediately is out and back into the mount.
Yep.
And there's like 3 frames of footage where he's just in and out, and then he's back and he's sliding and he's opening his hips across the mount. It was just beautiful passing and mount work here.
Yeah, and Caio does this multiple times. So while there wasn't a whole lot of submission attempts, really. I think there was a half-hearted leg lock attempt at one point.
Oh, I have a funny thing. It reminded me. So there was a leg lock attempt in this, and Cassio did a Naga, if I recall, a couple years back on like a whim where he was just like working heel hooks at the Naga, and you can go back and find footage of Sapaterre at just a Naga, just like heel hooking guys, and it just like I want to say it was probably like 2014. It might have been prior to that, but it was just him and a random Naga just working out techniques. So he has a leg lock. I mean, again, there's a fucking foot lock. There's a foot lock called the Sapaterre.
I was about to say, yeah, he has more than just a leg lock game.
Yes, he's got a very, very developed leg lock game. But again, we don't typically see a lot of it recently.
Yep.
Because we haven't seen a ton from Cassio recently. We haven't seen him on Fight to Win since like 2017. That's what the commentary said. And it sounds like right. So, yeah, beautiful match. I don't have a ton of this match other than it was great. Go back and watch the sequence at 3:47 left in this match because it's just a crazy, beautiful passing sequence. Cassio looked exhausted after this match.
Yeah.
And so, but cool. Got to see Cassio back. First time since 2017.
Yeah.
It was fun. Next match, we had Andrew Wiltse defeating John Combs via decision. Wiltse looked good here.
Yeah, he looked good. Also looked a little bigger. I don't know what the...
Yeah, I picked up on that as well. Like, I'm not sure. He had huge legs.
Yeah.
He's got some jacked legs.
Yeah. But yeah, really, really great work here. Andrew gets a really nice body lock pass on John Combs, and gets to mount and back takes, guard recovery by Combs. Nice back and forth. Wiltse has a great leg lock attempt.
The telling thing here was you saw Combs repeatedly trying to pass at the beginning of the start of the match. And then you saw a reversal happen. Like basically Combs kind of in a scramble up off a leg, Wiltse is able to wrestle up and get Combs down. And then you see Wiltse starting to pass and implementing his passing game and actually able to get past. And that was the big turning point. That's also when I realized when I saw Wiltse on top how much bigger he was. I was like, oh, okay, cool. He's using that as well. Like he's got big legs and he's just physically, like he's also really quick.
Yep.
So he's getting around Combs' legs. He was able to get into top position there and honestly looked really good. I'm curious to see if we see him at trials now.
Yeah.
Because Combs is a former trials winner for ADCC.
Yep.
I know that Wiltse is a new black belt. He's on that Daisy Fresh team. And so I'm curious to see, if we see him at trials and how we see him looking there.
That's really good.
Yeah, looked really, 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 really big win. Biggest win of his career, definitely. So excited to see more from him.
Next up, Junior Cassio defeats Justin Ordinario via heel hook.
This is a Z-lock. It wasn't a heel hook. It was a hip lock. It's listed in the result as a heel hook.
Loved this finishing sequence. It was so dope.
This is very similar to... I didn't get a chance to talk to Junior. I wanted to talk to him before the show. This is very similar to what he hit at Subspectrum. I think Junie is the only guy in competition to have a Z-lock finish, and now he has two of them.
It's brilliant, I think, in part because basically Junie gets to saddle, and the way that the saddle is set up is the leg entanglement is on Justin's top leg.
Yes.
Right? So it's on the leg that Justin is not... It's on the hip that's not touching the ground. And that's a little bit difficult because to finish a traditional heel hook because there's still a lot of rotation that can go.
They can still move. They can still move and sort of start to defend the position if they roll.
But what Junie does that's so brilliant is that he has his other arm that's on the mat, on the leg. He's grabbing Justin's leg. That's the one that he's leaning onto the mat.
Yeah.
And so he's preventing any rotation either way. And with one arm, then Junie's able to start torquing the leg and getting the pressure. And he does it like very gently as you can.
Yeah, it's measured, it's position.
He's
knows
waiting
and
for
does.
Justin to react. Like he doesn't do anything spazzy at all here. It's very smooth, it's very methodical, and there's just nowhere for Justin to turn to alleviate any of that pressure. So
last time we talked about this, it was on Subspectrum. I made a little clip of our show talking about it, and then I cut in the Subspectrum finish and the actual Eddie Cummings instructional footage. So there actually is instructional footage that Cummings put out like the day after Cassio hits this at Subspectrum of this lock. And again, I think it's the same lock. it did look a little different, but it looks similar enough that I think it's the exact same lock that he hit there. And again, he's the only guy that I've seen ever hit this in competition. It's a really, really, it's like the Cassio lock, man.
Yeah. It's great.
It's a hip lock, and we don't. When's the last time you saw a hip lock? That wasn't like an electric chair, like a groin splitter, a move that actually attacks the hip.
I don't think this attacks the hip, man. This, to me, this looks like
It's like a leg Kimura.
Everything that I hate about a lot. This is the same overall torque on the knee that you get during a heavy reap. And
Oh yeah, like what blew out Cub Swanson's knee, kind of very similar position.
I mean, yeah, this to me very much looks like a knee attack. And
yeah, from this angle, the screenshot that I have up of in my notes, it kind of does too. I know this because when they talked about it prior, they said it was a hip lock, and that's why I'm calling it a hip lock. But
yeah.
From the angle I have, it looks like it's just trying to blow the leg.
I mean, yeah, only Justin can say, but like, if just looking at it, I would say that's putting a lot of pressure on the knee. So
yeah. Cool, really cool finish. You don't see a lot of them. It's rare
cool.
we talk about a sub we don't see very often, especially at like a good high level black belt match.
Yep.
So fun match. Keep moving on.
Yeah, let's do it. Christopher William Haggett defeats Marcus Duthit via choke. Carlos Souza defeats Joel Adon via choke. Danilo Moreira defeats Silvio Duran via choke. Steve Hargett defeats Eric Board via choke. Frisco De Leon defeats Renato Tagliari via decision. Alan Sanchez defeats Ralph Sebexen via arm triangle choke. Javier Gomez defeats Mark Farrell somehow.
On to the brown belt results.
Xavier Silva defeats Clay Mayfield via split decision.
Becomes the fight to win brown belt middleweight champion.
Justin Rennick defeats Matt Cox via decision.
Glad to see Rennick coming back after his last match. I think he took on Tackett in his last match in like a late replacement or like a really quick turnaround title fight for Tackett. So cool to see him back in the win column. Excited to see what's next for him.
Italo Lima Costa defeats Nicholas Spacek. Adolfo Santiago Suarez defeats Caleb Isaacs via heel hook. Lauren Sears defeats Julia Belmonte via Kimura. David Weintraub defeats Julian Godinez via decision. Zach Cawthron defeats Fernando Cuparis via split decision. Sergey Zach Edwards defeats Leonardo Jr. via armbar.
And that's submission of the night for the brown belt. See, Zach Edwards getting it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've commentated his matches a couple times at SAGC, so it's cool to see him down in Texas getting it done. Purple belt results.
Jaden Mueller defeats Emily Fernandez via split decision.
Becomes the female featherweight no-gi champion, Jaden Mueller.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, that's Fight to Win. She works for Fight to Win. So it's cool to see her. You know, again, I always love when Fight to Win guys have titles on their own organization because it's cool because you get to see those titles defended really frequently.
Jacob Couch defeats Cam Padilla via arm triangle choke. Ramiro Leon defeats Jimmy Newsom via Kimura. Felipe Ferreira defeats Emerson Rogerio via split decision.
And that was Fight of the night for the purple belts. The previous match was submission of the night.
Kimoy Anderson defeats Alex Assad via decision. Alejandro Wagner defeats Matt Copra via decision. Mateus Azencott defeats Chase Souza via split decision. Joey Miranda defeats Adam Fujawa via heel hook. Jorge Valadares defeats Micah Valdez via heel hook.
On to the blue belt results.
Marco Mendez defeats Connor Ogle via armbar.
That was submission of the night for the blue belts.
Jacob Bonnerman defeats Corey Ramos via decision. Tiffany Butler defeats Lacey Clifton via decision. Freddie Marquez defeats Colt Lewis via decision.
That was Friday night for the blue belts. On to the kids results.
Refugio Salgado defeats Philip Brown via Kimura.
Friday night for the kids.
Zane Magan defeats Alessio Farrell via armbar.
Submission of the night for the kids.
Jackson Glass defeats Nate Suarez via armbar.
So that does it for our Fight to Win 147 recap in Austin, Texas. I think they're back, in Austin again this next week. We're going to preview them here at the end of the show. Do you want to move into Polaris or move into Submission Underground?
Let's do SUG.
Let's do SUG next. So Submission Underground 16, headlined by Mason Fowler versus Craig Jones in a somewhat controversial...
Pretty damn controversial
finishing sequence.
Yeah.
So the match of SUG right now is using EBI rules. They had, for their pandemic matches, they have a 5-minute regulation followed by overtime. Given that the matches are 5 minutes, most of them are going to overtime. Overtime is standard EBI rules that Emil and I both are not a huge fan of.
I mean, I straight up don't like it. But yeah.
Same with me.
Craig Jones during the closest really submission in regulation was Craig Jones had a really nice arm and guillotine.
Yep.
Where he was like lifted up off the ground.
Yeah.
Mason was able to pop out.
Didn't look like he could make the angle. And again, it's really
Mason
hard.
took some deep breaths after that.
Oh, yeah.
Like
it looks like it had Craig been able to get to the side there. It's kind of where Craig usually finishes. And if you look at his instructionals for how he finishes the arm and guillotine, makes a side angle that he's just unable to make. Mason is super squared up with him. But Craig was going for it.
So it goes to overtime, and Craig gets the first go at overtime, is on the back, gets the body lock, holds Mason for like something like a minute and 10 seconds or something like that. A long time. Mason's able to escape, and off the bat, Chael says, if Mason can tap Craig, we get a new champion. This is before the second part of overtime has even started, and it was just like a really peculiar statement to make.
Yeah,
I just felt like the timing was weird. It was just like a weird thing to say.
It was a strange thing to foreshadow going into this.
Mason also gets the body lock, and Mason is just squeezing like a motherfucker, both on the body lock, squeezing Craig's abdomen, just cranking down on his neck. And
Craig makes a weird noise initially.
Craig grunts, yeah.
Well, the first time, so Craig kind of makes a noise.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that looks like it sucks.
And Chael starts like talking about, I have it written down. He says, what's happening? I thought Craig, and then he trails off, almost like he was like waiting for the tap. Yeah, and then, maybe 20, 30 seconds
Something
later,
like
something similar happens, and then the ref calls it.
And then Craig immediately, the ref called a verbal tap is what it was. And I've gone back and forth with a couple people. We've talked about this. We've talked about it internally in the chat. I've watched this over and over and over again. I have a bunch of problems with the call. So 3 things. Per the SOG rules, if you make a noise like that, the ref can call it. Now, I have a problem with the rule in the first place because it's like I get that for a lower level match, but it's like you have 2 guys that are world ranked at under 88 kilograms in a highly anticipated rematch, and they're trying to kill each other, like really hard. Guy's gonna make a noise.
Right.
Also, from that position, Craig can tap with his hands, and if you're getting your neck cranked super bad, we've all been neck cranked before. Like you will tap like aggressively and quickly, and occasionally you make a noise.
Also, like, in jiu-jitsu, and particularly like for events like this, there's a lot of ambient noise usually, but because
there's no crowd
or anything, everything gets like amplified a little bit more, and like there's no like yell or anything like this.
Craig makes
these are noises that you would have heard during any normal like training session, anything like that.
And it was a little and it was definitely a little amplified. Like it was a louder grunt. But it was like we've all seen guys tap and verbal tap to neck cranks. Like it's a specific. It sounds like something. It sounds like I'm done. It doesn't sound like a grunt. This was a grunt.
Yeah.
And the ref calls it. And per the SOG rules, you can do that. But we've all seen enough high level matches that it was like no one thought that was a tap.
No one did.
And then the ref calls it, and you go, okay, like per the SOG rules, like it's a tap, but. We all we knew that wasn't a tap.
It's a bad call.
It's a bad call. Yeah. And then I had one more piece to make on this was you see Craig get the crank let go, and his first look is of confusion as opposed to like relief. And so if a guy's tapping, their first look after getting out of a neck crank will be, oh god, I'm out of the neck crank. That's good. And Craig's face was like, I'm curious as to why they've just called it here. That's weird. Yeah. So all in all, it's a bad look. It's a bad call. It's a weird overtime finish, and it puts a big asterisk. So yeah, Mason Fowler defeats Craig Jones via submission, neck crank, first round of overtime, but it's via like either a weird rule for SUG, or a ref that didn't know how to interpret.
It sucks because I love both Mason Fowler and Craig Jones. I think they're both like awesome grapplers, and like I wanted to see,
I want to see a 10-minute match. Yeah. Or something.
That's honestly,
at least.
First off, we shouldn't have been in EBI overtime.
In 5 minutes. Of guys of this caliber. Yeah. And then, like, to have it, like, weirdly, the ref, like, oh, we're done. And, like, that was kind of, like, it was super weird. And then Chael's comments before that were a little weird as well. It was like, it's like kind of a quick call. Yeah. And now Mason Fowler is the new champion. I hope we run this back again. Ideally,
I'm sure he is. I'm sure.
Ideally, not under Sug rules.
Yeah. First off,
honestly, this kind of put a sour taste in my mouth.
I agree. I want to see these guys again.
Yeah.
Craig in an online post talked about how ADCC rules.
Craig said he didn't tap. Yeah, Craig literally posted on Reddit. There was a discussion thread, and Craig chimed in, and basically, I gotta find the quote. He basically chimed in and went, Craig's exact quote: "Guys, the groans were from the body triangle. The squeeze was pushing the air out of me. I promise if my neck was in jeopardy, I'll 100% tap. No way this sport is worth a neck or spinal injury. If a grunt is a tap, props to Mason, but I think we should treat it like ADCC. Nothing but the word tap is a verbal submission."
Yep.
So
agree.
So that's how that went. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
Next match, we have Amanda Lowen defeating Aaron Hurl via submission and armbar in round 1.
EBI overtime.
Yep, this looked a lot like this last match with Amanda. Some positional work from both grapplers, but it goes to overtime, and that's how it ends up.
Richie Martinez defeats Kevin Casey in EBI overtime.
Kevin spends the majority of the match in mount. Richie sort of tries to use the fly trap over and over again. He puts his foot up, but Kevin's hip to it and wise to it, has his hips forward, and then Martinez is able to get the win in overtime. Yep. Next match.
Ben Egley defeats Micah Bakerfield in EBI overtime.
Yep. Round 1, overtime. Undercard.
Hunter Colvin defeats Andy Varela via Darce choke.
This was, I think, one of the only, if not the only submission in regulation. Happened right in the regulation again. We're super happy with Hunter. We love watching him. Chael was actually happy that he got a bunch of signatures to get on the last card. So we saw a matchup that could have happened on the last 8-man to fight Craig Jones card. Hunter's really good. Happy to see him. He looked good. The finish looked good. I want to see more of him.
Yep. Alex Larmy defeats Lee Flores via fast escape time in overtime. Jesse Brock defeats Logan Skinner via submission in overtime. Kanyela Kahanui defeats Josh Bolin in overtime. Nicholas Maximo defeats Colton Vaughn via submission in regulation. So we had 2 regulation finishes.
2 regulation finishes, both with 15 or 20 seconds left in
out
regulation.
Of what, like 10?
Something like that. Yeah,
10 or 11.
5 minutes is a little short for a pro matchup for me personally. It was fun. If
it's a decision, it's great. If there are points, it's great.
Well, especially because the overtime can be longer than the matches, and frequently is.
And it's just not good. It's not.
Overtime's not fun to watch.
It's not fun to watch.
It was really interesting.
Maine and I have talked about this a bunch.
Yeah.
We won't belabor it, but this card had compelling matchups, and I think it's maybe time for Sug to think about just modifying the rules and really taking it to the next level.
I think pretty much. I think all promotions, for the most part, not all promotions, I must speak with a blanket like that. Most promotions have moved away from the overtime system as it was in EBI because it's just not it's not viewer friendly.
Yep.
And it's just, I think decisions are better and points are better. So speaking of points, so I got nothing else on Sug. Yeah. Next event, let's talk about Polaris, the UK GP. Dude, Freddie Vosgrove showed up.
Yeah, he did. Do you want to talk about points here?
Yeah, so talk about points. Polaris for the GP. So Polaris typically does 15-minute rounds, and rounds are scored. Each 5-minute section is scored individually as a round, and there's no break between them, and then the winner of the most rounds wins that bout. But for the GP, because you want a more codified system, you want to give people specific incentives to do things that you're looking for, they did points. But they didn't do standard jiu-jitsu points, and I loved it. They did, you get a point for doing a thing.
Right.
And I
you
went...
pass, you get a point. You sweep, you get a point. You take down, you get a point. I kind of like that.
It's super simple, and in reality, I think I don't see matches going significantly different as a result. If a guy can pass and sweep or mount, it's the 4 points versus 2 points versus 3 points. It's all worth 1 point.
Yeah.
And I almost like how uniform it is because it makes guys have to put equal stake into all of the baskets for what they defend and how they defend it. Again, not giving 2 points for mount. There's an argument here, but initially seeing it implemented in this event,
I like it
big fan.
too because it equalizes the takedown and the other
groundwork.
things. So yeah, suddenly like a mount is not worth twice, a takedown. And honestly,
Right.
like it would be more like 3 times because usually you get like a pass and then
Yeah.
a mount. So that's over 3 times as much as a takedown by traditional IBJJF scoring. This is equal.
Yeah, I was a fan. Again, I don't know where it breaks down, if how it wouldn't work in different events with different grapplers potentially, but I was a big fan of it here. And I love they had the names, they had the points, and it was super easy as a layman to follow.
Yep.
And you can just see oh, this guy did the thing. He has 1 point.
Yep.
And I liked it. I actually hope that Polaris implements this more in events and kind of fleshes that a little bit because I was again super happy with it.
Yep.
Moving around 1.
Yep. Taylor Pierman defeats Nastasu Silvio via judge's decision. Freddie Vosgrove defeats Tom Brees via points 4-1.
So this is when you start to see Freddie come in. And it's like, oh, Freddie looks big here. He's coming in. Again, we've seen Freddie. We've covered Freddie. I've actually I've trained with Freddie before, watched him win the DC Open. He's a monster, one of the best grapplers out of Germany. I think he trains in the UK right now. Dude looked good, looked big, looked strong. His wrestling's on display. He's the guy who used to come out in the singlet and then go for heel hooks, and everyone laughed.
Ross Nichols defeats Dominic Dillon via points.
Close match here.
Bradley Hill defeats Shane Curtis via submission.
Rear naked choke there. Second round, we had Ross Nichols defeating Bradley Hill via judge's decision. Again, a really close match. And we had Freddie Vosgrove defeating Taylor Perlman via points 2-0. And again, we're seeing more and more for Freddie. He wanted to get guys out quick. And you talked about it. I like that they interviewed him after every match and how he thought about each match. But right now we've seen him go the entire length of both matches. He looks tired.
He did look tired, but he maintained composure and focus and was able to, take the win. Tournament final, Freddie Vosgrove defeats Ross Nichols. There's a pretty big size discrepancy here.
Yeah. And
Freddie has 10 kilograms on
both
him.
these guys are trained together. So I talked to Freddie after this because I was curious about a couple of things. And they've trained together a bunch.
I bet. I mean, in Europe, so Ross Nichols is really hot out of the UK. He's doing really well. Man, someone...
Did he win trials?
I can't remember if he did. Someone on Reddit posted that Ross Nichols was the only person that JT Torres didn't score on.
Yeah, I saw that thread too.
Which I found really interesting. So clearly, these are 2 talented Europeans. So of course they're gonna come across.
They're gonna train together.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, great rule set. Really compelling.
There was a really
matchups.
I love this final. I'll talk about this finals match. Some of the gamesmanship of this finals match. So comes down to Freddie takes this match via 1 point, and what he does is we know Ross is going to pull because Ross has pulled the entire time, and then the match starts immediately. 0 seconds into the match, Freddie pulls, and now he's going to force Ross to pass, but it gives Freddie the opportunity to wrestle up and put Ross down. And that's immediately what he does. And he gets up, gets the 1 point, and then now he can just work on his passing, which is what Ross was going to do the entire time anyway, which was what he planned for. So Freddie initiates it first, gets that 1 point on the board because he's got really, really good wrestling because Freddie's looking to do ADCC.
He takes away the ability for Ross to pull.
Yep. Because now if Ross pulls, Freddie can stand and there's a point. So he forces, and then now he can wrestle up. And it was just a really, and the commentator picked up on it as well, really great gamesmanship from Freddie here. And it was just to know and to train with a guy, know what he's going to do, know where his strengths are, and go, okay, I need to do this here to get this one advantage in the rule set for how this works. Gets it done. And then, honestly, looked really good. Forces the turtle from Ross a bunch of times. Looking to throw the hooks in. His passing looked good. And again, Ross staved off all of the passing attempts and all, everything else. But Freddie was just on him the entire time. And this is the most impressive I've ever seen Freddie look. He's looked good. I think he's undefeated still at Polaris. Yep. Looked better and better. Dude, he has wins over Tex Johnson, Arnaldo Maidana. He has Daniel Strauss. Freddie is...
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude,
Freddie's a monster.
He's been quietly racking those up.
He's
because,
been a grapple fest. We've covered watch out for Freddie Vosgrove.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Right? We've covered him a bunch.
And I remember him each time because you mention that you've trained with him before. I didn't realize he'd been quietly taking down some pretty high level people. Damn.
I think he's gonna do under 99 for ADCC trials. And again, I would probably put him as one of the front runners.
Yeah, dude.
For trials.
Yeah.
And there's 2 trials. He's got 2 shots at it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Freddie potentially take a European ADCC slot because I think he's got a game that's really, really well suited for it.
I'm trying to think of like who else at 99.
Is Wardzinski 88 or 99?
Wardzinski is in Hulk's division.
He's in Craig's 88, right?
I think that's 99.
He's a 99. So he's got to deal with Wardzinski, which I'm curious to see. I don't know if they've actually fought each other before. But again, looked good. Won 10 grand. We're going to be seeing a lot more of Freddie. I would assume that when they do the heavyweight GB, he was already announced for that. I would assume that he would be on that as well.
I apologize. It's not Hulk. It's Kainan. Remember, Kainan is the one who's been terrorizing Wardzinski for like...
Yeah.
Via
the stats you pulled up.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, 2 big Brazilian guys, and maybe we'll get some mixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot from Freddie. Look out for him. Again, I'm curious to see if he plays spoiler at the GP, if that kind of gets put back together, because that was a crazy GP. Wardzinski was in that, Nicky Rod was in that, Kainan was in that, Gaudio was in that, Vosgrove was in that. We're going to see more from him. So that was it was a lot of fun to see Freddie work. He's got a great game for the wrestling and like the footlock. So I think he's setting himself up for ADCC in a big way.
Yep.
That's all we got for recaps. You want to move into previews?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's move into our preview. You want to do Spider, want to do Fight to Win, or you want to do Sapaterre?
Let's do Spider.
All right, so Spider Grappling Invitational is taking place. It got moved, and now it is back. You have it up or no?
Yeah, I have it up.
Awesome. So we're going to see, so this is the Road to Black Belt Spider event. There's a super fight matchup as well on this card, but this is basically Spider does kind of a feeder tournament for up-and-coming purple and brown belts to get into their big invitational tournament. It's usually a lot of money with a bunch of top names, and they run these feeder tournaments. Emilio just got big and wide-eyed. What'd you see?
I just looked at Fight to Win 147, but we'll get there.
Nice. So first round matchup, we have
Yuncio Ha.
Thank you, Emil.
And Raimundo Diego Sodre. We have Gyunju Lee, Sikhyun Siu, Hyunwoo Han, Fabricio Audrey, Jiwon Park, and Kevin Carrasco.
So it'll be really, really fun. I think Cisneros is unfortunately out of that now, which kind of sucks because I was excited. I was excited to see him, but dude, the Spider puts on great events, and they always pick some super great international talent, and that's one of the big reasons I like Spider, because you see American, you see Brazilian, you see Korean grapplers all showcased, at the same thing. So that should be a lot of fun. That takes place on July 17th.
Yep.
So move on to the next event.
Yeah, let's do Fight to Win 147 in Austin, Texas. This is July 17th at 7 p.m. It is headlined by Rafael Lovato Jr. versus Helton Jose Jr.
Are you super excited like I am?
That's dope, but what I'm excited for next is Jonathan Alves versus Manuel Hibamar. That's going to be fucking fire.
This would be the first time that we've seen Alves on Fight to Win as a black belt, I think.
I can't remember seeing him at black belt. No.
I don't think
so.
I don't actually remember seeing his brown belt on Fight to Win. I think we
saw him at Spider. We've seen him at Spider.
We've covered
Brown
him before. I
Black.
just don't know if I've seen him on Fight to Win before.
Yeah, I can't recall. I don't remember it.
Oh, also on the card, we have Luisa Montero versus Elizabeth Clay.
Yeah.
We've been super hot on Elizabeth Clay recently. She looked really good versus Kendall Riesling, and versus who's number one matchup?
I cannot recall.
She looked really good. I forget who she fought there. Still a brown belt, technically. Still a brown belt, and we give quotes there because Luisa Montero is a black belt and should be a really, really good matchup. What do you think about the Jonathan? Want to kind of speculate about any of these matchups?
I don't know enough about Helton Jose Jr. to call it. I do think, Lovato is a fucking beast. So I think, by reputation.
I'm going to pick Lovato. I'm going to pick Lovato because I'm more familiar with his game meal.
Yeah. So Jonathan Alves versus Manuel Hibamar. I'm trying to remember iconic. We've covered Alves for sure. We've covered Hibamar, but I'm trying to remember what some of his more iconic matches are.
50-50 arm bars? Hibamar?
No, that's not Hibamar. That's you were thinking about
I always mix him up with Hibamar.
the Cyborg guy.
Yeah.
Fuck, what is his name? I always forget his fucking name.
I always want to say he's Hibamar. He's not.
No. Anyway. But yeah. Alves is fucking beast, dude.
He's so good.
We saw him beat Shane Jamil Hill together.
And that's what in my head is the match I keep going back
Exactly.
to. Of just like to take on like the former world champion and sub him so quickly and get to the back so like quickly versus Shane. The ceiling is the limit for Alves. Like I don't want to pick against the guy that looks like that against a world champion.
Yep.
And that's, again, we've not seen him a ton at black belt, which is kind of my, like, because sometimes the guys get to that level, but he's an AOJ black belt, and so those guys have been black belts for a couple years before they get black belt at that level. And so, again, I don't really know. I assume this is definitely going to be a gi match.
Yeah, this is going to be good because, I'm looking at Hibamar's kind of like more recent stuff. He's won Grand Slam in LA.
Yep. For AJP.
We've seen him a bunch on Fight to Win. He has wins over Jake Watson, Mauricio Oliveira.
Oh, the Jake Watson match. I remember the Jake Watson match.
Yeah, dude. This is gonna be a good match.
So this will be a seeder for a title match, I would guess, given that he has won a Grand Slam. I think winning a Grand Slam may or may not put you on the title list for Fight to Win outright. I don't know if it does. I know all the majors do for IBJJF. But I don't know if
Abu Dhabi.
If Seth also considers Abu Dhabi in that. I know he considers ADCC, and I know he considers all the four majors for IBJJF. I would assume he would consider World Pro. I do not know if he considers Grand Slams as well. But you're on the short list for like super hot for a title shot.
Yeah.
So again, I don't really know. I don't really want to pick this one. I don't know.
I don't know either, man. That's a tough call. So it's gonna be good though.
It's gonna be it should be a lot of fun.
Should be really fucking technical. I'm assuming it's a gi match. I now come to think of it, I can't think of that I've seen Alves in no gi.
I've seen. We saw him versus they're at the Arteza Invitational versus. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but yeah, I think we've only ever covered him in the gi. Now that I'm thinking about it. It should be fun. Also, this weekend is the Sapaterre Invitational. It's the 155-pound qualifier. We have a headline match. We have Chad Kodiak Fields versus Joe Bays. Joe from Submission Underground. He's been heel hooking dudes everywhere on SUG for a couple years now. This should be a really, really fun one. This is streaming on the Sapaterre Sapaterre YouTube page. Takes place on July 11th. I'm excited for Sapaterre coming back. It's been a while since they've run an event, and they put on. If you want to look at a crazy event, look at Sapaterre 6, I think it was 4 or 6. Had like Craig, had Gordon, had a bunch of big names on it. Like right before all of them just got like massive. Let's see what else. Also this week is Jiu-Jitsu Overtime. Takes place on July 19th. I'm assuming that it is still running. I've not seen a whole lot from it. We will probably not end up covering it on the show, just given the format. But if you're interested in that, it's probably on Fight Pass, and you should take a look. I know there's some fun guys. I think Thomas Halpin. Everything got moved around and changed, so I'm not exactly certain who's on it, but it should be fun if you're into that. That does it.
Yeah.
And it was a big-ass week of events.
Yeah, a lot going on. Abso-fucking-lutely.
So what's your week look like now?
Chilling, man. Just trying to figure out, like, how I could maybe just, like, responsibly get out of Baltimore for a little bit. Maybe get a cabin somewhere.
I'm going to go to a section of the beach with no one on it.
Yeah.
For next week. So we're doing the show. We're doing the show a day early next week because I've not been on vacation in, like, I think about a year.
Yeah.
And I need to be not at my house in my basement.
Yep.
For 16 hours a day for a couple of days. So I'm
Yep.
going to do it, as responsibly as I can. I'm not going to go out anywhere, but I want to put my feet in the sand for a couple of days and just like relax and get out of the basement, because I spent the entirety of this weekend running Cat 6 Ethernet cables to the basement from upstairs. There's a small hole that you can now see above the Grappling Rewind poster if you're watching the YouTube video. That was me running cables for 6.5 hours because I couldn't get the fish line to work, and that was the entirety of my Saturday. And then I ripped apart the entire podcast set and then put it all together Sunday so we could record Monday. We're looking at doing some more live streaming stuff, potentially doing some fight companions. If you are interested in any of that, you should let us know, because I want to do them. And if there's interest, I will definitely do what we can to shorten the process and, try to get that there so everyone can watch it. Other than that, that was my whole weekend. I'm looking forward to vacation. I've got to get through this last week of work, and then I cannot wait to be in the ocean for a couple of days at a little section of the beach with no one there, hopefully.
Sweet.
Anything else going on for you?
That's it, man.
All right, so that's it.
All right.
We got the Grappling Rewind. Jesus, I completely messed it up. It's been a long week, Emil. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine,
There
joined
it
with my
is.
co-host,
Emil.
We got the Grappling Rewind. See you on the mats. What a weird outro. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
Let us know.
reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.